Good evening, I'm Kurt Barbato with tonight's news. Tonight's story is one we've been covering for months now, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. We have extensive coverage for you tonight, including an oil rig worker from the Deepwater Horizon who will tell us exactly what went wrong to lead to the explosion, as well as an environmental scientist to give us the impacts of the oil spill to the ecosystem for years to come. We now send you to Emma, a reporter on the scene, for more information.
Thanks, Kurt. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill occurred over a 4-month period from April 20, 2010 to September 19, 2010 on the Gulf of Mexico near New Orleans. Officials say that on the morning of April 20th at 9:45 a.m., an offshore drilling rig, Deepwater Horizon, owned by the British Petroleum Company and Transocean Limited, one of the world's largest offshore drilling contractors, experienced an uncontrollable explosion which killed 11 of 126 crewmen and created a fire visible from 64 kilometers away. The fire departments worked tirelessly to extinguish the fire, but on April 22nd, the Horizon sank, leaving oil to spread over the entire seabed. The specific exploratory rig at the Macondo prospect is known to be one of the deepest and most powerful wells in history, even though multiple environmental and government agencies warned BP and Transocean Limited of the dangers of having such a deep well. Measuring over 10,000 feet below the ocean floor, this extensive well makes for extremely complex drilling and high-pressure systems due to excess oil and natural gas. Ultimately, it was in the final stage of drilling that caused a geyser of seawater to erupt from the marine riser onto the rig, which led to the eruption and release of mud, methane, gas, and water. Clearly, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, who oversee regulation and inspection of the rigs, failed to inspect safety documentation and emergency procedures for the rig. Lives could have been spared, and one of the largest oil spills and environmental disasters in history could have been prevented. Now, an exclusive interview from one of the 126 crewmen who survived the tragic Deepwater Horizon disaster.
Yeah, thank you, Emma, for having me today. I'll apologize for my appearance. I'm just working on another rig here. So Deepwater Horizon had to plug the well that we'd created for another rig to come along, but we kept experiencing kicks when that was happening. And for those that don't know, a kick is where there's large natural gas deposits. They make their way up the well. Usually we're protected from these from heavy mud in the sea floor. On the day of the explosion, I remember overhearing some engineers, and they were arguing whether or not to remove this dense drilling mud from the wellbore and just put seawater on it. But usually when you remove this, you have 2 security cement plugs in place. It's line of defense. I knew we only had 1 in place, but I just assumed they knew what they were doing. Anyways, they removed the dense drilling mud even after we failed a critical pressure test, so probably to save money is my guess. And I remember that the cement out of the well bores piping under the ocean floor, that was out too. That prevents the natural gas from coming up, and also our blow-up preventer, that was out on the day too. So I remember gas started shooting up the riser. We didn't have our 2 lines of defense in place, so it didn't block the gas and the salt water and the mud. And this all in combination, well, it was like a geyser of seawater that erupted. Fire explosion, we know what happens after that. A lot of lives lost, a lot of damage to the ecosystem, Emma.
Ecosystems are made up of physical, biological, and chemical components, interconnected to form a balanced community. What happens in one location has serious cascading effects on organisms and other parts of the ecosystem. Oil is toxic to a large range of organisms in the sea and on land. It causes a wide array of effects to these organisms, including reduced growth, impaired reproduction, impaired physiological health, and mortality. Due to oxygen exchange between water and air, coastal salt marshes habitats suffered extensive harm, and in some instances, the damage was permanent. As expected, deep-sea corals suffered as well. After the spill, they began to show signs of poor health, stress, and tissue damage. Activities to clean up oiled areas were unsuccessful. Flushing water or raking it to remove oil from coastal salt marshes delayed marsh recovery and exacerbated the loss of oysters. Oil damage to plants and oysters, as well as cleanup measures, increased erosion of marsh shorelines in the years that followed. Marsh recovery is expected to take more than 10 years, and in some of these cases, the damage will be permanent.
Special thanks to all our correspondents for all their hard work. It should be noted that the Deepwater Horizon spill has had a devastating effect on the economies of the Gulf region. As mentioned previously, the oil spill has affected millions of aquatic life, including shrimp and oysters. This is especially concerning to the fisheries of the region, where over 70% of all shrimp and oysters in America is harvested. The economic impact of the spill is an estimated $8.7 billion, with $4.9 billion coming as a direct loss to this industry. Those effects will definitely be felt in the years to come. Another industry ravaged by the oil spill is the tourism industry, where in Louisiana, 60% of all customers have canceled their hotel reservations in the months following the oil spill. Florida is also reporting a 4 to 5% decrease in annual visitors to the region, which corresponds with a $3 billion loss of profit due to customer spending. This also corresponds with almost 50,000 jobs being lost in the region. The company responsible for all these damages, BP, has been ordered to pay massive fines in court, totaling over $62 billion. $20 billion of that going directly to the US government to repay the said industries, as well as other local business owners. The company is also being ordered to pay for all the cleanup efforts, which are totaling well over $20 million. This goes to show you that when mistakes are made and shortcuts are taken, the effects can be very costly. Thanks for watching.